Hello everyone. So this is previous year paper analysis of General Studies paper 1 from 2014 UPSC Mains. In the previous video we covered questions from 1 to 15. In this video we'll be covering questions 16 to question number 25. So if you really want to clear mains in UPSC, the best possible chance is by learning about your previous year papers. That is what we'll be trying to do through this video by analyzing the question and pointing out or picking out the important points, or by dissecting the question so that you have a better understanding of what question is being asked in your mains. So let us begin with the question number 16. Most of the unusual climatic happenings are explained as an outcome of the El Nino effect. Do you agree? So in this question they are asking two specific things. One, they are asking what is El Nino effect, right? So you need to write about El Nino effect. Not only that, at the same time you also have to write or answer the question in a way where you explain the impact of El Nino on the environment. From that perspective, you have to answer this question. The final outcome that they are looking out or looking for in these answers from you is, do you agree? So they are asking, do you agree whether the El Nino does actually have an impact on climatic happenings? This is what they are asking you to answer or address in this question. So the best possible answer is, first you address what El Nino effect is and the impact of El Nino on the climatic conditions at a given area. Whether do you agree with the fact that El Nino has impact on climatic conditions of a region or not? That would be the ideal answer when you are answering this question. Okay. Now moving on to question number 17. What are the world's fold mountain systems located along the margins of continents? Bring out the association between the global distribution of fold mountains and the earthquakes and volcanoes. So this is kind of a geographic centric question. You should be aware of where fold mountains zones or regions are located around the world. So first you start giving a small introduction about what fold mountains are. Second, you have to point out why the region where you find fold mountains in the world are active zones for earthquakes and volcanoes. So you need to give the correlation between the presence of fold mountains in the region to the active volcanic activity or the earthquake activity in that particular region. That is how you answer this question. And mind you, when they are asking for a specific thing, the best way to get more marks from your invigilator, not invigilator, from the person who is correcting your papers, or is to give a example. My suggestion is, draw a small map of a particular region, draw the fold mountains of a region, give 2 or 3 earthquake zones or an active volcano in that region, and say this is why, this is the example. So that would fetch you an additional mark or two that may put you ahead of your competitors in exams like UPSC. So that is how you approach this question. Now moving on to question number 18. Explain the formation of thousands of islands in Indonesia and Philippines archipelagos. Now, the pronunciation might be wrong, but the question is very interesting. First, they are asking what an archipelago is. So, you need to know what an archipelago is and why Philippines and Indonesia are being clubbed as archipelagos. That is why you explain the process why these are called archipelagos in the first place, and then you answer the main question that is being asked in this question, that is formation of archipelagos. Remember, they are indirectly asking you to answer or give out the process of the formation of archipelagos in the world. And specifically, they are giving you the examples of Indonesia and Philippines. So they are not only asking for the general formation of archipelagos, but why Indonesia and Philippines are being pointed out specifically, because they are little bit different when compared to other archipelagos in the world. That is how you should think before you answer this question. So now we are done with question number 18. Now let's move on to question number 19. Tropical cyclones are largely confined to South China Sea, Bay of Bengal, and Gulf of Mexico. Why? Immediately in your mind, the three zones must pop out on a map. What is the significance of all these three regions? So you have to visualize the regions in your mind of the Gulf of Mexico, the Bay of Bengal, and South China Sea. So what they are asking here is why tropical cyclones are largely confined to these regions only. So they are asking for the reasons for formation of tropical cyclones in these three specific regions. So you should give, or you should explain the climatic conditions in these that exist in these three regions that lead to a higher percentage of tropical cyclones. That is why this is not only the reason is you have to give so and so climatic conditions, geographical conditions, so on and so forth. That is how you answer this question. So 19th question done. Moving on to question number 20. So I think 20 is a little bit of an interesting question. Bring out the relationship between the shrinking Himalayan glaciers and the symptoms of climate change in the Indian subcontinent. So they are asking for two things, but the main focus of this question is climate change and the impact climate change is specifically having on the Himalayan glacier ecosystem of Indian subcontinent. So that is how you should go about answering this question. So it's a chain link question. So they are asking you to link each and every aspect of it. So climate change, you give climate change, what is the Himalayan glacier scenario in Indian subcontinent, and why we are seeing a high percentage or high degree of shrinkage of Himalayan glaciers happening in Indian subcontinent because of climate change. So it's a cyclic answer. So you get to explain or elaborate with beautiful anecdotes from this regard. Now moving on to question number 21. Now moving on to question number 21. Whereas the British planters had developed tea gardens all along the Shivaliks and Lesser Himalayas from Assam to Himachal Pradesh, in effect they did not succeed beyond the Darjeeling area. Explain. So they are asking why tea gardens are high in number or high in percentage in northeastern states. The second thing they are asking is why don't we see tea gardens extend beyond the Darjeeling area and confined within the Darjeeling area, that is in sense why they did not progress further. Not only that, they are asking what is the reason for this specific phenomenon and what was the role that British planters played in this regard. That is what they are asking in this question. Now moving on to question number 22. Why did the Green Revolution in India virtually bypass the eastern region despite fertile soil and good availability of water? First and foremost, they are asking about Green Revolution. So you have to give a little bit of intro about Green Revolution. Now the second thing they are asking you to look into is why was the eastern region bypassed despite having the right ingredients that the planners of Green Revolution were looking for? So you need to explain that by giving out the reasons as to why this specific region, despite having the right conditions and good availability of water, this region was bypassed. That should be your focus on while answering this question. Now moving on to question number 23. Account for the change in the spatial pattern of the iron and steel industry in the world. So you need to be aware of distribution of steel and iron industries in the world. Then you give out why we are seeing these specific regions around the world that have become clusters of manufacturers of either iron or steel. Or you can simply say why so only some regions in the world have become the industrial zones for the manufacture or production of iron and steel. That should be your focus of answer, and you have to give out the reasons as to why we see clusters of either iron industry or steel industry in these regions. That should be your answer for this question. Now moving on to question number 24. Now critically evaluate the various resources of the oceans which can be harnessed to meet the resource crisis in the world. First thing, you need to answer what is the resource crisis that they are talking about here. Now you need to understand what are the various resources of oceans also. So you have to outline in a simple way what are the resources that humans can harvest from oceans. So you have to talk about natural resources in the oceanic from the oceanic world. It's a simple question, but it has to play a critical role as to explaining the importance of resources from the oceans and how they can be harnessed in a better way, in an environmentally friendly way, to address the resource crisis that the current world is currently undergoing. Remember, this was in 2014. So from that perspective, again, if you look at the question also, it is very much relevant to this era also, or this year also. So the questions are always in a way kind of timeless questions. So they are not era specific or year specific questions. Whenever they choose a topic in UPSC, to an extent they are timeless in nature. They are always relevant some way or the other. Remember what the world is going through right now because of COVID-19. Industry had shut down, production has gone down. As a result of it, many western countries are seeing crisis in food industry. As a result of it, they are being forced to explore other resources, other food resources or food sources. So in a way, if you look at the question, it is very much relevant to this time period also. Now moving on to the final question. How does India see its place in the economic space of rising natural resources and rising natural rich sorry I'll repeat again. How does India see its place in the economic space of rising natural resource rich Africa? So they are simply asking you to explain how India intends to exploit or explore natural resources from Africa. So two things you have to remember here. What is the current economic relation between both of our countries? Number two, how had our relationship, our bilateral relationship, had an impact on our economic trade or an economic ties? That is how you answer this question. Hope this has been useful to you. Again, if you want to clear UPSC mains any year, having a greater understanding of questions that were asked in the previous years is a must. Hope this video has been helpful to you. Thanks for watching.